Benjamin Sesko has a decision to make. Sign for Arsenal, Man United or Chelsea, or sign a new deal with Leipzig. At least that's what reports are saying. And I'm a little bit sceptical about these reports. So we're going to break that down. I'm going to talk to you about why I'm a little bit sceptical about the reports and the quotes that are doing the rounds. We're also going to talk about Victor Osimhen, because there have been some links to reports. So we'll talk about whether there's anything in that. And I've also got a feeling and a prediction that June might get a little bit busier because of a very particular financial issue that's facing Premier League clubs. So let's go into all of it. I'm going to start with Benjamin Sesko, because I'll tell you what is good news. While I'm sceptical about these links and reports and how advanced things really are, I will say that the big reporters are talking about it. When the big reporters are talking about it, no smoke without fire. Arsenal are clearly very interested in Benjamin Sesko. But quotes have done the rounds that I feel are maybe being interpreted in a more positive way from Arsenal fans than perhaps they should be. Let me show you what I mean. Because this, from Fabrizio Romano, from his YouTube channel, was quoted by Arsenal Buzz. Now, I'm not having a pop at Arsenal Buzz here. They've quoted him absolutely correctly. The words are exactly what he said. But I do think when you watch it on the YouTube channel, you can interpret it slightly differently. So let me go through the quotes. Romano did say that Benjamin Sesko is taking his time to decide between United, Chelsea and Arsenal, that the three clubs are in the race and everything's still open, and that he's not accepted anything yet, but he has all the projects in front of him. That key quote. And he has all the projects in front of him, so it's up to Sesko to decide what he wants to do. Now, there was a follow-up tweet, quoting him, saying that he's also got an important contract from Leipzig that would basically change the release clause and make him an important start of the team. But let's focus on that first bit. So I do believe that there's an offer from Leipzig. I do believe that they want to keep him. That doesn't surprise me. But this other stuff is interesting, because this particular sentence, Sesko has not accepted anything yet, and he has all the projects in front of him, so it's up to Sesko to decide what he wants to do. I think when you read that quote, and I certainly took it in this more positive way, you can think, okay, so Sesko is somewhere with a contract offer from Leipzig and basically three projects, or you can interpret that as three offers from three big clubs in England, and he's basically got to choose which one he wants to go with, and there you go. So really, it can kind of give the impression that things are imminent. There's a release clause that just needs to be paid, and he's got, the offers and the, projects in front of him, so he needs to go with what he wants. But when I watched the video from Fabrizio Romano's YouTube channel, which I encourage you all to go do, my interpretation was different. I don't know why. Sometimes when you hear something from the person saying it, from the source, as opposed to just reading the quotes, there's a different tone, there's a different, I don't know how to explain it. I really encourage you to all go watch Romano's update on it on his channel. But I took it more as, when he was talking about he has the projects in front of him, I took it more as he has these projects in front of him, these teams who have their projects in front of him, who all want to make Sesko part of it, and if he doesn't sign the Leipzig deal, then he can enter further negotiations with these clubs. I didn't get the impression that basically all three clubs have decided they're going to pay the release clause, and that it's a matter of choosing which contract offer he has on the table. And there's a difference. And I think some people might have interpreted it as the powers in Sesko's court, and now we're just all waiting for him to decide what he wants to do. I think these clubs, and especially Arsenal, are still actually thinking, deciding about what they want to do when it comes to this deal. So that's not me having a pop at anyone in terms of the reporting and the quotes and the tweets or anything. I just think it's a way of interpreting the quotes when you actually listen to them. Now, Fabrizio Romano did actually come in with a tweet today, which is the 5th of June, saying that he's going to take some more days to sign his future, and that Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea have all approached Sesko since March and April. Now, that for me, I think supports what I'm saying about the interpretation of his comments on YouTube. He could have said right there very clearly he has three offers and he has to decide which one he wants. But he actually said that all three clubs have approached Sesko since March and April. He wasn't as strong. That doesn't come across as concrete and as, I don't know, as far advanced as the initial quotes that were coming from his YouTube channel first appeared. And this is why I bring up this tweet, because this tweet comes after his update on YouTube and after all the quotes did the rounds. So I do think that's Fabrizio Romano maybe just slightly clarifying, look, they've all approached him. They all have maybe presented their projects and what they could do with the player, but nothing is as advanced as maybe some of the quotes are making out. So I wanted to get that out there. But there are other big journalists that are talking about this as well, and it's why I do actually take it seriously that Arsenal are genuinely in for the player and are interested in doing a deal, whether he's the priority or not. That's why I did a breakdown on him. I'm not going to do breakdowns on players on this channel unless I feel like there's genuinely something in it, like there's a genuine chance he joins, and there's a genuine chance that Arsenal sign Benjamin Sesko. Florian Plettenberg on the 1st of June, who is a Sky reporter, did say that Arsenal are pushing to sign Sesko and that they've been told that there's been no final decision, and he supports everything that was being said before about Man United and Chelsea also monitoring him. But the update that I always want to hear is David Ornstein. So when David Ornstein and The Athletic come in with information, I really take that seriously. Now, first things first was actually Gunner Blog coming in. But we're going to start with what David Ornstein said. Gunner Blog, James McNicholas, all reporters at The Athletic. But let me start with what David Ornstein said, because there was quite a lot on the Sesko stuff. So I've broken it down into bullet points, because I do think you should all go listen to the podcast. I do think you should all go read the articles so you can get the full depth of information. But just bullet points. I've been doing the rounds on socials anyway. David Ornstein said that Arsenal do rate Sesko very highly. That's they can confirm that. And that he does believe that Sesko is either top or close to the top of Arsenal's wanted list. He then says that there's a feeling that Arsenal are perhaps ahead, but basically sort of implies that that's probably because of where they are with the project, not because they're further in negotiations or because they've got a contract arranged or anything. It's more that for all the clubs that are in for him, Arsenal are probably the front runners purely because of where Arteta and Arsenal have been the last 2 years with their project. And then he also says that just because there's a release clause, it doesn't mean it's that simple to do. Just because you can drop 55 million or whatever it is at Leipzig's door doesn't mean that he becomes your player. You got commission fees, agent fees, whatever it is. There's a lot to negotiate. What contract would you want? It's not as simple as just pay the release clause and it's all done. So I thought that was an interesting update from David Ornstein, because the way, again, when I listen to the podcast, which you should all do, it's all on Spotify, the Athletic FC podcast. Again, my takeaway from, there's a lot of stuff that David Ornstein said in there, but my general feeling and from those highlighted points is that, yes, they like him, but let's just wait and see. Things can change. And I think he wanted to reiterate that point, like, things can change drastically in football. And I think he also said when we have something really concrete, we'll come with it. But I think he's not sure that's really there right now. And I have no sources or links or anything like that. I don't know anything. I'm not in the know. But that's just my feeling. I don't think this is quite as advanced as a lot of quotes doing the rounds on social media might make you think. Now, Gunner Blog and James McNicholas, let's just call him James McNicholas, came in with a disclaimer in his article. He was talking about sort of the Arsenal transfer window, what to expect, and he also said things change very, very quickly, and that the market might dictate things. And by the way, I want to give myself a little bit of credit, okay, because some of you got onto me when I said that I don't think Arsenal 100% know what they want to do with the transfer window yet, and that's what a lot of reporters are saying, that Arsenal, yes, have positions that they want to fill, but they're still just waiting to see what kind of happens, and that the market might play a part in that, and they're just sort of putting feelers out for certain players as well. I don't think anything is really concrete in terms of guaranteed players that Arsenal want to bring in. I think they're still pretty open to a lot of things, though they know the positions that they want to tackle. Now, here are the bullet points from James McNicholas' article in The Athletic, but again, there's a lot I've left out because I'm not just going to post the whole article here. Go check it out. But some of the key things he said was that since last summer, Arsenal have had the notion that this year's priority would be to add a striker, that the form of Kai Havertz has reduced the urgency somewhat, but they are still prepared to go into the market for the right number 9. Again, this is what I mean when I say Arsenal aren't 100% going to do said deal. They are open to a 9 if the right one comes up, but it's not as urgent because Havertz has done really well. He then goes on to say that they're also open to improving other attacking options, again supporting the fact that if something comes up, they're open to doing that, and that the midfield or the incoming midfielder, if we are to sign one, is going to be determined by the decision on Declan Rice's long-term future. I have talked about this before on a video. Whether Rice is an 8 or a 6 is going to determine who we sign in midfield, and that is really important. So there's a lot there to break down. My honest feeling is that it's a gut feeling. I don't think we're going to sign Sesko. I just, for some reason, I did my breakdown last week. I've seen all the reports. I believe we want him. But I just have this feeling that he might even sign a new deal at Leipzig. I don't know why. I just think there's a lot of... Sometimes things can feel too on the nose. Sometimes things can feel a bit too forced. And my feeling is that there's a bit too much going on. And no one has actually come out and said, Arsenal really, really want to sign this player. We've heard Arsenal are pushing. We've heard Arsenal have put their project forward. We've heard he's one of... might be top of Arsenal's list or one of the... And guys, if I get this wrong, I'll be happy because I think he's a really exciting young player and I hope I'm wrong. I'm not trying to kill people's hopes. I'm just trying to be really honest with you all. I'm sceptical about quite how advanced this move is for Sesko. But what I will say is we should get a resolution to it soon, because if his release clause does end in June and he's going to the Euros, then we're going to find out pretty soon. We're going to find out pretty soon what his decision is. So I do think we'll know in the coming week. In terms of it not being advanced with certain clubs, that might be true. But what we might know is actually what he wants to do, whether he's going to move or not in the next week or so. So yeah, that's certainly something to keep an eye on. Now, very quickly, I said we'd just touch on Victor Osimhen, because here are some updates from Di Marzio, who is... Di Marzio, so should say it with an accent. Di Marzio, because my mum's Italian, by the way. He came in with some updates saying that the negotiation between Napoli and Chelsea did not take off for Osimhen. Arteta's Arsenal, however, are interested. He also says that Conte has contacted Lukaku for life without Osimhen at Napoli. And then he also came in saying that Osimhen, we assume, will leave. At the moment, there's only Arsenal in for him, who are far from the clause. If he were to leave, and at the moment it's not certain, the very first choice would be for Lukaku for Napoli. So anyway, putting the Napoli stuff aside for a second, are Arsenal in for Osimhen? Well, Di Marzio is the same journalist who also said that Declan Rice was in advanced talks to join Man City. So, you can't pick and choose when journalists are reliable, but he's got things right before, he's got things wrong before. That is the nature of journalism. We won't be too harsh on all that. Should we be excited? I'm not sure. What I do think, though, is that Arsenal are exploring the striker market, and it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal had got in touch with representatives of Osimhen, had got in touch with other strikers, whether it be Gyökeres, whoever it might be, maybe other forwards and wingers, and are just juggling a lot of different situations. Okay, he'll cost this much and he could come, but he's got an injury record. He hasn't got as bad an injury record, but he's not as proven as this guy. This guy's really a right winger or a winger, but it means that we could play Havertz and he would cost less. I honestly think they are juggling all these things, and in the coming weeks, maybe month, they will choose to hit the red button on one of them and go, that's the deal we're going to do. What I do think we can take real encouragement from is that The Athletic are actually still sticking by the stories and reports that Arsenal want to add a striker if they can do it, and that they haven't really moved away from the idea of signing one just because Kai Havertz is doing well. If you go back a month or two ago, those were the murmurs. Havertz is doing so well, we don't need a striker. Luckily, Arsenal still think they do need one. Now, the final thing I want to touch on in this video was this from David Ornstein, where he actually talked about the financial pressures that are coming for Premier League clubs for the June 30th deadline. Now, the June 30th deadline is, I think, and I might be wrong, I'm not the most read up when it comes to the financial side of things for football, but essentially, by June 30th, clubs can sell players in order to keep, I think, those sales and the revenues that they generate from those sales in a certain financial year. Therefore, clubs that have PSR issues, PSR is all around the financial stability of Premier League clubs, clubs that have those problems might be willing to sell. Now, Aston Villa is one of the clubs he mentioned. We've been linked with Douglas Luiz, and you're also going to be wondering about Onana at Everton. Is that a player we could go in for simply because Everton might have to sell, and we know that they've had points deducted because of the problems they've had? They may even have more, I think, I've seen in some reports. So there's a lot going on there. Could Arsenal go in for some of these players purely because the market is, I don't know, or the financial situation is dictating that some of these players might be much more readily available than we perhaps thought they would be in a world where the financial pressures aren't there? If Onana was a 60-70 million pound player, can you get him for 40 million? These are the questions I'm asking. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We've broken down a lot there because there's been a lot that's been coming out, and I felt we needed to cover it all. But I also just wanted to give you my thoughts and my general gut feeling on how I felt about these reports. It's not... How do I put it? I don't think things are quite as advanced as some quotes might make you think they are. However, Arsenal are clearly in the market for a striker. That's the exciting thing. Let's see how things shape up in the coming weeks. If you do want to watch my breakdown on Benjamin Sesko, I did do one on the channel because I wanted to talk about his strengths, his weaknesses. Clearly a lot of physical attributes that are very good, but technically, has he got it all as well? We ask and answer some of those questions in the video to my left, so go check that out on the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because more content will be coming out, including live shows, so just keep an eye for everything we're doing here on the James B channel, and welcome to the Goonerverse as well. We've got a lot more coming.